Good morning. It's Pop again, Dennis Murray. Today is the 22nd Popcast, and it's called Completing a Lifelong Task. I'm going to get kind of personal today. Um, it marks a fairly big event for me. Um, Yesterday, I felt like I had completed the task that I began in fifth grade. I realized then that both my parents and my teachers were deeply upset that the story of Adam and Eve, which they had grown up on and was essentially the shared inspiration of the Western civilization, had been um, stripped of that capacity as a shared inspiration by the scientific discoveries of recent centuries, um, perhaps most important of all being those of Darwin, but he was just part of a large group of scientists who slowly created a very different scientific worldview that was totally inconsistent with the details of Genesis. However, I could see that this was deeply upsetting, and it grabbed my attention like few things did, and I never forgot it. And as I got into my adulthood, I started reading and thinking and trying to make some progress on this task. And eventually, I had the good fortune through my marriage to be able to see my own intellectual arrogance and figure out that common sense would help me both have a practical thing to use in life as well as gain a respect for common sense that would uh, help me greatly reduce my intellectual arrogance. So that led me to essentially full time work on this subject. And I stopped practicing law more than 30 years ago. I really have been working many, many hours a week um, since 1979 on these materials. And I retired at the end of '88. And um, so all these years I've been struggling with this task. And in the course of it, I was introduced to the psychology of Carl Jung, which includes both an appreciation that we absolutely have to have a shared inspiration, something that is inspiring to all of us and that we can celebrate um, and therefore um, build up the strength of and have the comfort and encouragement from. And the Adam and Eve used to be the story that played that role. And while it continues to be powerful in the lives of many individuals, it no longer is a global or community wide. It was never global, it was but half the globe. And it, it was Western civilization's heartthrob. It was where the inspiration came from. And it's gone in that role. And, my parents and most of the people I knew continued to believe that there was a God who created the world. It's just that the details that Genesis provided didn't turn out to be true. They were a story told to people who were not able to deal with scientific realities at that time. And So, it didn't take away the faith of my parents or of my teachers. Um, but when I started reading Jung, I began to appreciate that it takes away something from civilization that we very, very much need. And in the century or so, um, we've slowly developed this incredible fissure, this great divide between our extremes on politics and religion. And we frequently use the word culture war, war between science and religion. You don't use the word war to refer to your relations with your friends and neighbors casually. There's something really, um, missing in your relationship if that word comes up in conversation a lot about relations with other people in the community, people you know and like, people you're related to. I mean, it's gotten so bad that most of the people I know have an unspoken, well, a spoken rule that there will be no politics talked about at friendly gatherings because there's nothing but anger. There's no light and there's no mercy. There's just nothing but anger. So it appeared to me as a kid, and as the years went by, I learned more about it and thought more about it, and particularly was influenced by the works of Jung. Um, and by my own developing common sense, the gift of my wife, um, that we very much need to find a shared inspiration. We need the sharing, we need the inspiration. Not just because, oh, wouldn't it be nice to be inspired, but because living together in great numbers is really difficult. It involves a tremendous amount of natural conflicts. Uh, and essentially, at this point, because of our own scientific inventions, everybody is in everybody else's living room all day long. You see on the internet when there was a 7-Eleven robbery in Calcutta. You see when there's some strife in Chicago. Um, Everybody sees it. I have some friends that live in France that I've met over the years and that I'm close to. Um, they're very aware of the same things that we see in our Facebook feed every day. So, you know, it, in order for us to thrive as a people, in order for us to live fully engaged, we need each other. And to have each other, we have to have something that we share that inspires us all. And that inspiration reinforces the sense of connection we get from awe. So we start from awe that's inside all of us, a sense that some kind of, it's an experience of some kind that gives us a sense that there's some kind of creative goodness at work in the universe. And we bring, and the awe includes a sense of connection to the universe, to our own interior selves, and to each other. So we bring that connection up to each other and we share it. And that's how we make awe effective in our daily lives. We make it a practical reality, something that really is working because we need that. We need the extra courage and comfort that sharing an inspiring experience of awe gives us. And without it, we quickly fall into where we are now. And this isn't the first time in our country's history or the first time in Western civilization that this has happened. Just go back to the Civil War. And before that to the 1820s. The usual rule was this kind of divisiveness. If there's not an external enemy, the internal divisions tend to become completely out of all proportion because people naturally can get very angry at each other and very easily forget that they have this strong desire to live in fruitful relation to each other that is welling up from deep inside them. So for me, my moment here is that I found when I was searching for something that could be shared inspiration. And then in more recent years, I started finding the words to explain it. And, and now I feel like yesterday I gave you a decent summary of this uh, uh, my point of view about having awe to share and needing to share it, and it having a powerful effect on us, and that because awe precedes religion, we can all share it globally, not just in the United States, but globally. We can all always, in all public experiences, begin with a moment of sharing our sense of awe, our inspiration that we get from that. And that ritual plays a huge and vital role in our thriving as a species. So I have to say, I had a strong sense yesterday of completing a lifelong task. And I wanted to take a moment and share that today. And I begin today with a new task, and that is I'll make every effort within my reasonable powers to try and explain further uh, this shared inspiration, why, what it is, where you get it, why it's so important, how to share it, and the legal, religious, social, philosophical implications of it. And so I'll work on that for the rest of my life. I'll never finish it. It's a it's not that kind of task. Um, but it's a very, very special moment for me. Kind of hard to imagine your whole life in search of something, and then after a lot of work, finding it. Quite a journey. I'm very appreciative that you were willing to go with me these last 22 days on this journey, and I hope I've earned your trust and confidence so that you'll stay with me while we start our new journey of developing this further and trying to figure out practical ways to bring it out into a wider audience. Okay, thanks very much. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.